Yeah, there you are. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about knives a little bit quickly. When it comes to knives made out of saw blades, this is kind of a um, just a random video I made. For once, there's audio, so the video is probably going to get uploaded. This is a machete made out of a saw blade. A saw blade meant to cut hardened steel, as a matter of fact. It is incredibly durable. I've had several nicks in the edge, but they don't seem to make it any duller. They seem to sharpen it up with anything. It cuts like butter. The thing was made when I was in first year of high school, I believe it was. That'd be 2 years ago. I made this thing. Then I like this one. I'm years older. This thing was made literally like 3 years ahead of that. 3 years before that. Thin little knife. I used it for filleting things. It's very sharp. It's not stainless. I don't make things out of stainless. Stainless is a travesty in my world. It does not belong in the knife world. What does, however, belong in the knife world is proper care. But apparently that's not a thing. Because it's so difficult to rub down knife with Scotch-Brite after you're done. Fucking idiots. Okay, next up on the list. Those were both made out of saw blades. One for a reciprocating saw, that was the latter one I showed. The other one is for a cold saw that's meant to cut hardened steel. This is the same steel this is the same type of saw blade as from the machete, except in a different format. Different type of knife. This is a hunting knife I made. It comes complete with a belly opener. Very helpful. Sharpened inside and everything. Now, why would you need a belly opener on a hunting knife? Some would say. I know a lot of people out there are well-versed hunters and are not going to have a problem realizing what the fuck you use a belly opener for. I mean, the name kind of says it right there. But some are going to misunderstand this and think it's for opening the bellies of people, but it's not. It's meant for opening the belly of a freshly killed animal. Not while they're still running away, no. The theory is that you stab it up at the top of the neck, roughly here somewhere, you know. Get it in under the skin, and by the point you've gotten up as far as you need, you just flip it down and pull. Oh, shit. And it acts like a zipper. And it will essentially just zip them open. It's like a ziplock. Kind of interesting. This thing is very sharp. I will not demonstrate how sharp because I'll get hate for it because it's not even. It's not evenly sharpened because it doesn't really have to be. What really matters is the tip and this part. This part up to here, and then between here and here is what matters really. For some reason, that little nick there doesn't seem to want to get sharp, but everything else is razor. Anyway, this is a good knife. Made this some time ago. My teacher, when he saw this, dropped his jaw. His jaw literally dropped because it was rare. You didn't know you could make knives like this out of saw blades. Let's just put it this way. I was very good at making my teachers literally just crap their pants in amazement. Why? I do not understand. I mean, this is not something super special. It's just a few cuts with an angle grinder. What's the big deal? I don't get it. They understood. They for some reason saw that this was super special. I don't know what the problem was. It's just a knife, people. It's just a sharp strip of steel. This isn't even very elegant. This is actually very, very, very crude. This is about as crude as it can get. This thing isn't even evenly sharpened. It's like there's low points and high spots in the edge everywhere. It just looks nice, bright, and shiny, and that's all that matters, I guess. But it's sharp, and that's all. That's really all that matters. I super glued little, you know, Dremel discs, I guess. You know, one of those little things. I super glued one of those on there. Why? I mean, the knife's a bit dull. Butchering this, or yeah, you're butchering this newly felled kill. Can't quite get through. There you go. Knife sturdily held in place by the magnet on the other side, which also serves to keep the sheath on. Of course, it's not great anymore. That's because it's how so happens to be located right over that hole, which is kind of a bitch because there's going to be no metal engaging it. However, since when is stainless magnetic? This one has a higher iron content. Why are those two stainless steel cookie chef's knives magnetic? That's not the question I came here to ask or answer, as I do not know. This is a lawnmower blade knife. Forged. I cut out a strip, forged out an edge, forged it straight, flat, nice and true. It's currently poorly sharpened. Plus, it's missing a handle. Or slabs. I'm gonna cut some of those up out of some juniper wood I have, which is awesome material, by the way. You should check it out. It just marbles beautifully if you put some non-degradable oil on there. Anything else I want to go with knives? Well, I have one knife, or I had, I should say. I'm extremely proud of it. It was a present from my teacher. I respected the guy very much. It's literally like, I've never had that much respect for anyone in my entire life. Why? Because the guy understood me. One of the few that understands me. Now, I'm not going to say that I'm super special and that I'm hard to understand. It's just that for some reason, people have stopped trying to understand people. He actually gave a crap. He tried to understand his students. And as such, he knew every single one of us like a freaking open book. It never fazed him if one of us wasn't around, because he knew us in and out. Nothing surprised the guy anymore. 60-something. I think it was like 72 when I finally graduated. No, wait, it was 68, I think, when I graduated recently, this summer. And I gave him that knife as a sort of, I was going to hold off with giving him that until graduation. But I figured, in a large crowd, carrying a knife and then just handing it to a teacher doesn't look very good. At least not in a large and tight crowd. I don't want to be walking around with a knife in that tight crowd. So I decided to, since it was done like ages before, it was done in about a month's work, just in my spare time, just lollygagging about with it. Anyway, so I gave it to him during the previous Christmas break, like before that. And 2 weeks before my graduation, he told me that that knife is probably the best knife he's ever had. He has used it a lot, and he hasn't had to sharpen it once, which in my opinion is quite amazing considering the fact that the thing wouldn't stay sharp when I was holding it. It just kept getting blunter and blunter the more I sharpened it. It was a weird steel, okay? It just shattered. It was so hard that the edge just shattered when I tried to sharpen it. So what I ended up doing was I annealed it. I drew the hardening out of it. I got it glowing cherry red. And just let it cool on its own. I'll be damned if the thing didn't stay sharp. It became like a razor. Now, I have one knife more to show you before I get to these chef's knives. This one I'm particularly proud of, as it is a bit of a crown achievement of mine. It is one of those badass things I've ever built, and when I showed this to a friend of mine, she is a fan of she's a very great big anime fan, and she absolutely adores Ichigo. You might see where I'm going with this. The tubing is just there to protect the edge. It's a fucking chef's knife. This is the first chef's knife that I made. It's got nearly no weight in it whatsoever. It's literally, I'd say this entire knife, this giant piece here, is probably like just a little bit shy of what this thing weighs. Actually, this handle is probably hollow. Anyway, this is a cool knife. I love this thing. It's epic. This one I hate. It's too short, it's too stubby, it's too rounded, it has too much of a lug here. Sure, they both have that lug. Difference is, the moment you sharpen this thing, that lug grows significantly. Here, the lug was established from factory. It looked like this from the factory. All I've done is taken a file to it and give it a bit of a roughen. Anyway, so you might be wondering, what is this made of? It's an old handsaw. No joking. It's an old, rusted up handsaw. It was so rusty that it couldn't be used anymore. You couldn't even push it through a piece of wood without it either dropping a tooth or completely destroying the wood because it miscolored it so bad, or discolored it so bad. On that note, I cut it up. I got it from my teacher, same teacher I hold so much respect for. I found this thing. I showed it to him because I found it behind an old cabinet down by the tractor garage. He's like, I asked him, hey, what do you want me to do with this? Because I knew he wanted me to do something with it, because just leaving it there was not an option if I found it. So I handed it to him, he took a look, he took one quick look at it and said, if you don't want it, throw it away. Of course I kept it. I have the proof. I have it right here. No. There it is. Yeah. It's an old Sandvik. Wait, what the fuck? That's the Fiskars logo. Was Fiskars known as Sandvik first? I'm gonna have to look that up. I don't think so, but I'm gonna have to look that up just in case. Right after this video. Anyway, so it made an excellent blade. It took nothing to get it sharp. Razor edge within seconds. I actually had this nice sharp edge here. I was considering keeping that, but why? I don't know, but I was considering keeping it. But then I had this hole, which was actually from the... Where was it there? Yeah, there it is. It was from the top of the handle. No. Yes, it was. It was from the top of the handle here. Wow, imagine that. So it was from the top of the handle there. Pretty substantial. I used some of the leftover materials to make a couple of scalpel blades. Might show you those someday. But not now. I'm running short on time, I'm saying. So, anyway. This one my teacher did not see. For obvious reasons. Now anyway, so stainless steel, and now as you've noticed, all of them have been made out of non-stainless steel. All of mine made knives have been made out of non-stainless steel, and that's because I hate stainless steel. I call it the worst steel on the planet because I can't find any decent way to sharpen it. Now my teacher, or I couldn't, I should say, until recent times. My teacher, no, actually, let's go to that story in a separate video. Anyway, so this is probably our oldest knife that has survived and isn't broken in any way. It had a couple of chips in it at one point, a couple of bends. They're all straightened out. Well, the chips are gone. The edge is not razor right now, but it's been used a lot since I last sharpened it. I haven't touched that to the stone in ages. I know I'm not like, what's it called? Irish, but still. These knives, What do they have in common? Nothing at all. Look at them. Long, slender, decent geometry. Not great, but not bad. Someone called this the perfect knife, the perfect shape for a chef's knife. I hate it in every way, shape, and form. Both of these knives have one fundamental flaw, though. There. This lump here. That should be as thin as the blade. Why? Because then you can grind it down as you sharpen the blade so it doesn't get in the way and get stuck on the cutting board before you finish your cut. But on this one, it's ridiculous. Here, on this one, there was a defined place where the edge would start and end from factory. Always been here and here, like where that stands down. I did not change that. And now, to be fair, it's moved up the blade a little bit. To be fair, that it moved up the blade a little bit, but still, better than nothing. This one, on the other hand, because of the continuous curve, you have to hold it at that of an angle to even get started on the edge. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to angle my hand upwards when I'm cutting vegetables. I want my hand to be angled, like, relaxed. I want to be just as relaxed as I can possibly get. I don't want to have to hold a certain angle simply to get the vegetable to cut properly. Just because I'm cutting celery, that doesn't mean I should have to hold the knife in a special way. I should have to hold the knife comfortably in all situations. That's it. That should be the only requirement for a kitchen knife. This one, because of its weird blade geometry, it has to be held in this fashion to get a decent cut going. Of course, you could always use the tip. But what's the fun in that if you have 50 carrots to cut and you don't have a machine? I mean, if you have a machine or a cheese grater or whatever, you can use that. But if you just have a knife, what's the fun in having to hold the knife like that to get a half decent cut? Might not sound like a big deal, but just angling your wrist up a little bit can get really uncomfortable. That's the reason we have ergonomic computer mice. This knife, on the other hand, the angle is still there, but it's not as bad. It's not quite as bad. Now, is there any other major difference between these? Well, yeah, this thing is significantly heavier than this thing. Actually, I don't know if I think they actually weigh about the same, except for some reason, I think they're about lined up there. For some reason, somebody decided to make the right one, or on your left, roughly quarter inch longer, and they decided to go with a flat design. Very basic. One smack of the forge hammer and it's done. Rather than this weird thing. What's the point in having this sweep? What? You could save all that material by just cutting a flat line there. I know that doesn't sound like it's much material saved, but for fuck's sake, you don't need that. That should be here, in the blade, for thickness, for the stability of the blade. Shouldn't say that this is any better. Oh wait, it is. This one's longer, but it's less flexible than this thing. This is a chef's knife. It's not supposed to flex at all. It's not a fillet knife. It's just a chef's knife. It's not supposed to flex at all. It's supposed to be like a stone. Unflexible. Immovable. Like a mountain. And sharp, of course. Now, what's the one thing these have in common? They're both made out of stainless steel. Then why do I like this thing so much? Because this thing is too stubby. It's too wide at the base, too thin at the tip. You can get no leverage with the tip. The geometry of it makes no sense. They actually, now that I look at them really close, they have a very similar tip. The last few the last centimeter of the tip is basically the same on both. Almost. This seems actually a little bit wider. Not much though. This one has a thinner tip. Actually, they're very similar actually. Except the total thickness of this knife is achieved about here on this one, and it thickens up even further, exceeding the Jamie Oliver knife. Yeah, I'd love to show you the box, but I don't have it. There you go, Jamie Oliver. Clear as day. LOB. Google them. A Chinese rip-off company. We bought these in a set of like 6 knives, kitchen utility set, for about $6, 15-something years ago. Oh no, 10-something years ago. This alone, $25. It might have been 30. I don't remember. Insane, and it's shit. I feel sad for even having sharpened this a couple times. It took 2 weeks, then it was dull. My sister, when she bought the thing, said this. Okay, you're not touching this thing. You're not sharpening this knife. Sharpening. Took her 2 weeks to blunt the edge to the point where it was about as good as a butter knife. She still claimed it was better than this thing that at the time I had just recently sharpened up. So it was sharp enough to slice through paper like butter. This thing. Newspaper, by the way. This thing. On top of that, there's always too steep of a break angle on these professional knives. This one has a break angle, yes, but it's not as steep. It's, as a matter of fact, almost flat to the edge, which is kind of creepy, considering the fact that I just winged this years ago and it's just stayed awesome since. It's just like Rainbow Dash. It stayed awesome. And if you don't like that statement, there's probably a donkey that needs fucking. Go help her with that. Now I'm going to end this and move on to a different video where I tell some stories. Have fun.